She's too fat for the gala, Evan Whitmore said, smiling like a man offering mercy instead of a knife. Clara Bell stood beneath the Blackstone Hotel chandeliers with a silver tray against her hip, her black apron still stained with coffee, a cracked old phone in her pocket, and a hospital tag folded inside her palm. The cameras flashed once. A wine glass trembled on someone's tray. Then a quiet voice came from the marble column behind her. She's with me. 3 hours earlier, Clara had been wiping down table 12 at Moretti's, the kind of restaurant where rich men ordered forgiveness with aged bourbon and left guilt folded under linen napkins. Her feet hurt. Her wrist still carried the faint purple mark from where Evan had grabbed her outside the kitchen last winter and whispered, "Lose weight before my family sees you." She had not told anyone. Not because it did not hurt. Because some wounds learn to breathe quietly. That night, she was closing the back dining room when she found the hospital tag tucked inside the receipt book. Mia Torres, St. Agnes Children's Ward, Oncology, unpaid review pending. It should not have been there. It should not have been anywhere near a steakhouse ledger, a donor gala, or Evan Whitmore's name. Clara read it twice under the buzzing pantry light. Then she saw the second thing. A receipt with the Blackstone Hotel seal, folded so tightly it had cut a line across the paper. She slipped both into her apron, not to steal, not to bargain, but because poor girls who find rich men's secrets learn one rule fast. If you hand the truth to the wrong person, it disappears. By 7:30, the Blackstone was glowing like a palace built to make ordinary people feel smaller. Clara entered through the service corridor, carrying a tray she did not need, because nobody questions a waitress holding something heavy. The ballroom doors opened, and warm air spilled out, smelling of roses, perfume, and money pretending to be kindness. Then Evan saw her. He wore a white tuxedo and a campaign smile. His new fiancée touched his sleeve as if Clara were a stain on the carpet. "Clara," he said softly, but loud enough for donors to turn. "This is not the diner." She kept walking. "I'm here for St. Agnes." His smile thinned. "No, you're here because you can't let go." A guard moved toward her bag. Clara's hand closed around the hospital tag. "Don't touch me," she said, not loud, not shaking. That was when Dante Moretti looked up. He had been standing near the columns with two men in dark suits, expression unreadable, eyes colder than the marble beneath them. He did not know Clara. He did not trust scenes. But he saw Evan's hand reach, not for her phone, not for her bag, but for the tiny blue hospital tag half hidden between her fingers. And for the first time that evening, the Mafia boss stopped breathing for half a second because the tag carried Mia Torres's name, and Dante had personally paid for that child's treatment 6 days ago. Dante did not reach for the hospital tag. He only looked at it long enough for Clara to feel the air change around her, as if the ballroom had tilted 1 inch and no one else had noticed. Evan noticed. His smile stayed perfect, but his eyes moved too quickly from Clara's hand to Dante's face. "Mr. Moretti," he said, smoothing one cuff beneath his tuxedo sleeve, "I apologize. This is a private matter." Clara has always had a talent for making pain look like evidence. A few donors smiled politely, relieved to be given permission not to care. The chairwoman in pearls stepped forward with the tender cruelty of someone who had practiced compassion in mirrors. "Sweetheart," she said, touching Clara's elbow without asking. "Staff concerns can be handled after the program. The service entrance is just down the hall." Clara pulled her arm back. "Not hard. Just enough. I'm not staff tonight." The woman's eyes dropped to the apron. The coffee stain. The seam near Clara's hip that had torn during the dinner rush and been mended with black thread. "Then perhaps," she said softly, "you should dress like it." That was when the room began shrinking Clara the way rooms like that always did. Not with fists. With glances. With perfume and diamonds and little smiles that weighed more than insults. Evan lowered his voice, but not enough. "She's upset. We were engaged once. I tried to help her. Therapy. Nutrition. Work opportunities. But some people mistake rejection for injustice." Clara felt the old phone vibrate in her apron pocket. Once. Then twice. She did not look down. Dante did. His eyes caught the movement, then returned to Evan with a stillness that made the younger man swallow. "What did she bring?" Dante asked. It was barely a question. Evan laughed through his nose. "Probably old messages. She saves things. Receipts, voicemails, little tragedies." It's how she keeps people close. Clara's fingers tightened around the hospital tag until the plastic edge pressed into her skin. I save things because men like you count on women like me losing them. The words did not rise. They landed. Somewhere behind the ballroom doors, plates clinked and a dishwasher thudded in the hotel kitchen. A small, ordinary sound from a world where people still had to clean up after other people's lies. Dante's right hand moved once. One of his men stepped back, lifted a phone, and quietly photographed the hospital tag from an angle no one noticed. Evan saw the motion too late. That's inappropriate, he said. So is panic, Dante replied. The old phone vibrated again. Clara finally drew it from her apron. The cracked screen lit her face from below, showing a bank alert she did not understand. St. Agnes Relief Fund. Case closed, 0 balance due. Below it sat a text from an unknown number sent 1 minute earlier. Give Evan the tag and walk out, or Mia loses the bed tonight. Clara's throat went dry, but her thumb moved before fear could. She took a screenshot. Evan's fiancé leaned close enough for Clara to smell her white gardenia perfume. This is sad, she whispered. He moved on. You should too. Clara looked at her coat, draped over one arm, and saw a small blue paper corner sticking from the pocket lining. Not a receipt. Not a napkin. A hospital bracelet, folded flat, with the same child's name printed across it. Mia Torres. Clara did not grab the bracelet. She only looked at it long enough to remember the way waitresses survive in rooms where nobody believes them. See first, move second, speak last. The blue paper corner trembled from the fiancé's coat pocket as if it had a pulse. Evan touched his fiancé's lower back and guided her half a step away. Too smooth. Too practiced. Clara, he said gently, you're staring at my future wife like you want to ruin her too. The donors heard concern. Clara heard warning. Dante heard the word too. His eyes shifted to the coat, then to Clara's face, but he still did not rescue her from the silence. He let it gather. I waited table 12 last night, Clara said. Evan gave a soft laugh. At the restaurant, yes. Which is exactly why this is inappropriate. You ordered the Barolo, she continued, then changed it to club soda after Silvio Crane arrived. That name moved through Dante's eyes like a blade underwater. Not visible to most people. Sharp enough to matter. Evan's smile held, but his right thumb pressed against his phone screen, locking it. A waitress remembering drink orders is not evidence. No, Clara said, but the wine order slip is. From the torn lining of her apron, she pulled a narrow white paper, damp at one edge, printed with Moretti's crest, and table 12, 8:41 p.m. below Reserva, cancelled. Club soda, no lime. Evan glanced at it once, then looked away too fast. The chairwoman sighed, as if Clara had spilled soup instead of truth. My dear, this is a charity gala, not a diner dispute. Clara turned the slip over. On the back, written in a hurried block hand, was a service note, black elevator after dessert. SC Dante stepped closer, not enough to defend her, only enough to see the handwriting. His voice stayed low. Where did you get that? Under his bread plate, Clara said, after he made me bend down to pick up the glass he broke. The room shifted again. Not sympathy, unease. People could forgive cruelty when it looked elegant. They were less comfortable when it had a receipt. Evan lifted both hands, palms open, courtroom clean. That could be anyone's handwriting. Clara has always been imaginative. She once accused a hostess of hiding her tips because she couldn't accept that customers tipped her less. Clara felt the old humiliation press against her ribs. The tip jar. The laughter. Evan counting bills in front of her and saying, pretty girls get. Remembered. She swallowed it down and kept her eyes on Dante. There was a second key card, she said. Not the hotel kind. Matte black. No logo. It fell when Mr. Crane stood up. Dante's face did not change, but the man behind his left shoulder stopped breathing for a beat. And? Dante asked. And Evan didn't pick it up. Clara slid her hand into the apron pocket, past the old phone, past the screenshot, past the hospital tag. He looked at me and spilled the wine instead. She placed the matte black key card on the edge of the tray. It made almost no sound. Just one small click against silver. But Dante looked at that card as if Clara had set a loaded gun between them, because etched into the black plastic was a number that should never have been outside his private elevator. B3. The number B, 3 did not frighten the room because the room did not know what it meant. To them, it was only a black card on a waitress's tray, another prop in the sad little performance Evan had warned them about. To Dante Moretti, it was a door that should have stayed buried 3 floors beneath the hotel, behind 2 armed men and a camera that did not blink. Evan smiled first, which was his mistake. "Mr. Moretti," he said, lowering his voice into something almost kind. "May I suggest we handle this privately? Clara has already suffered enough embarrassment tonight." The word suffered landed softly. The word embarrassment cut deep. A hotel manager appeared with a clipboard, a woman in a navy suit with a practiced face and frightened eyes. Beside her stood a security supervisor and a charity board member who smelled faintly of mint and expensive soap. "Miss Bell," the manager said, "we can offer you a quiet room, some water, and transportation home. No one wants this evening to become harder for you." Clara looked at the clipboard. There was already a statement clipped to it. She saw her name typed wrong, Claire Bell. Below it, one sentence waited for her signature. "I entered the donor reception while emotionally distressed and misunderstood the items in my possession." The ballroom noise seemed to press closer. Champagne laughter muffled through velvet doors, heels clicking over marble, silverware chiming like tiny warnings. Clara felt suddenly aware of everything they wanted her to be. Too large for the dress code, too poor for the donors, too emotional for the truth, too tired to keep standing. Her fingers tightened around the tray, but the key card did not slide. The hospital tag did not fall. She reached down with her free hand and straightened the crooked name tag pinned to her apron. "Clara, not Claire. I won't sign a lie," she said. The board member gave a sad little smile, as if disappointed in a child. "No one is asking you to lie, dear. We're asking you to use language that protects everyone." Dante's eyes moved from the typed statement to the manager's pen, then to Evan's relaxed shoulders. He still said nothing. Silence around him did not feel empty. It felt loaded. Evan stepped closer, careful to remain just far enough from Clara that no one could accuse him of threatening her. "Clara, you're making this bigger than it needs to be. Think of Mia. Think of the children. Do you really want their gala ruined because you're angry with me?" That was the test. Not from Dante. From the whole polished world standing between Clara and the door. They offered her comfort if she shrank, kindness if she disappeared, dignity if she surrendered the truth. Clara placed the wine order slip flat on the clipboard, covering the false statement. "Then write this," she said. At 8:41 p.m., Table 12 canceled a burlo after Silvio Crane arrived. At 8:47, a black key card fell under the table. At 8:49, Mr. Whitmore spilled wine on my apron and told me to clean it up. The security supervisor's mouth tightened. "Those are very specific times." "That's what receipts are for," Clara said. Dante finally reached out, not to touch her, but to turn the clipboard slightly. At the bottom of the false statement, in tiny gray print, was the hotel's internal file number. B3, Inc., 1142. Evan saw Dante see it, and for one clean second, his perfect campaign smile forgot how to live on his face. The file number sat there like a fingerprint someone had forgotten to wipe away. B3, Inc., 1142. Dante looked at it for 1 second too long, and in that second Evan recovered his smile. "Administrative coding," Evan said smoothly. "Hotels generate incident numbers for everything now. A broken glass, a guest complaint, a confused employee wandering into the wrong reception." Clara heard it. Employee. Not woman. Not witness. Not even her name. The manager's pen hovered over the clipboard as if waiting for gravity to make Clara smaller. "Miss Bell," she said, "we can correct the spelling later. Right now, we need to de-escalate." Clara reached into the torn seam of her apron and pulled out the thing she had not shown them yet. Not the hospital tag. Not the key card. A folded time receipt, soft from being carried against her body, creased down the middle, the thermal ink already fading like truth left too long in heat. She laid it on top of the false statement. "Moretti's, Table 12, 8:41 p.m. Burlo Reserva canceled. Club soda, no lime. Service note opened. This places Mr. Whitmore at my table after he said he never saw Mr. Crane last night," Clara said. Evan gave a small, sympathetic laugh. "I was at a public restaurant. I greeted many people. Clara may have confused ordinary politeness for conspiracy. She has done that before." The fiancée lifted her chin. The chairwoman looked relieved, as if a man with a clean tuxedo had rescued her from thinking. Then Clara unfolded the second half of the receipt, the part she had torn away herself, and hidden inside the lining of her lunch bag. A smear of dried red wine crossed the paper, and beneath it, printed by the kitchen station, was a timestamp. 8:49 p.m., spill comp approved by EW. The room tightened. You approved the comp, Clara said. For the wine you said I imagined. Evan's eyelid flickered. Only once. Not enough for the donors. Enough for Dante. The old phone in Clara's pocket buzzed again, but she did not touch it yet. She looked at Dante instead. There's more, she said. Her voice was steady, but the steadiness cost her something. She reached behind her waist and untied the apron. For the first time all night, she removed the thing everyone had used to place her beneath them. The black cloth sagged in her hands, stained with coffee near the pocket, red wine across the front, and one small brown mark along the left side seam. Dante saw that mark and stopped looking like a guest. He looked like a man remembering a room he had once trusted. Clara folded the apron open. Pinned inside, where no one could see it while she worked, was her metal name tag. Not Clara. A second one. Clara Bell, VIP service, Blackstone Hotel. She had never worked for the Blackstone. I found it this morning in my locker, she said. My shift log had been changed too. Different ink. Different handwriting. It said I clocked out at 11:38, but I closed Moretti's at midnight. Evan stepped in quickly. Temporary badges get mixed up. She works service jobs. These places blur together. Not this one, Clara said. It was clipped to a key card envelope marked B3. Dante took the badge at last. His thumb passed over the cheap, engraved metal. The silence in him deepened, dark and controlled, because the only man with access to Blackstone VIP badges before midnight was Silvio Crane. Silvio Crane's name did not leave Dante's mouth. It only passed through his eyes, and that was worse. Evan kept talking, something careful about clerical errors and service staff confusion, but Dante had already stepped into a quieter room inside himself where every sound became evidence. Rain began tapping the tall hotel windows, soft at first, then steady, turning the glass black enough to reflect Clara standing in her torn apron, holding herself upright beneath a chandelier that had never been built for women like her. Dante turned the Blackstone badge between two fingers. Who changed the shift log, he asked. The hotel manager blinked. Our system updates automatically. Who? The second question was not louder. It simply removed the air around the first one. The manager checked her tablet with a thumb that had begun to shake. A temporary override was entered at 11:51 p.m. by executive access. Evan smiled, relieved by the vagueness. Executive access could mean dozens of people. Dante looked at his lawyer, a gray-haired woman in a black dress who had appeared beside him, so quietly Clara had not seen her arrive. Pull North Pier. The lawyer did not ask why. She opened her phone and moved away. Clara heard the ballroom applause swell behind the doors as someone announced the silent auction. Children's drawings were being sold beside champagne towers while one child's hospital tag sat on a silver tray like a prayer nobody wanted to answer. I don't want money, Clara said suddenly. Dante looked at her then. Really looked. No. I want Mia's file reopened. I want my name spelled right. And I want him to stop calling me unstable just because I kept the thing he dropped. Evan's jaw tightened, then softened into pity for the audience. That's exactly what I mean, Clara. You personalize everything. Dante's lawyer returned before Clara could answer. Her voice was low. North Pier Logistics signed a consulting contract with the St. Agnes Relief Fund 3 weeks ago. $386,000. Marked as donor routing compliance. The board member in pearls went pale. That's impossible. No, the lawyer said, scrolling. It's notarized. A small silence opened. Into it came the buzz of Clara's old phone on the tray. Once. Twice. The cracked screen lit up with a voicemail notification from a block number, time-stamped 11:52 p.m. last night. Clara did not play it. Not yet. She looked at Dante. He nodded once. The message began under the sound of rain and distant applause. At first there was only static, then a man's voice, muffled but clear enough to cut skin. The waitress has the card. Change her log. Make her look desperate. Clara stopped breathing. Evan exhaled a laugh too quickly. That could be anyone. Dante did not look at him. He looked at the phone, then at the badge, then at the contract on his lawyer's screen. One changed shift log, one false badge, one missing child's payment, one voice giving orders from inside his own circle. The silence around him went colder than anger. And in that cold, Dante understood the thing that shamed him most. Clara Bell had seen the betrayal from the floor, while he had missed it from the head of the table. Dante did not accuse anyone. He did something colder. He invited them all into the Blackstone's private donor lounge, the room where rich men spoke softly because they knew soft voices carried farther than threats. Velvet walls swallowed the ballroom noise. Rain slid down the windows in silver lines. On the center table sat Clara's old phone, the Blackstone badge, the B3 key card, the wine order slip, and one unopened cream envelope from North Pier Logistics. No one touched anything. A small red camera light blinked above the liquor cabinet, reflected in the untouched glass of bourbon Dante had poured for Silvio Crane. Silvio entered last, smiling with the tired patience of a man asked to clean up other people's messes. "Dante," he said, "this has gone too far." Dante looked at the bourbon. "You still take it neat?" Silvio's hand paused on the chair back. "Always." Clara looked up, not at his face, at his fingers. He held the chair with his left hand, but when he reached for the glass, he used his right, slow and careful, like a man performing a habit he had practiced for an audience. Something about it pulled at her memory. Last night at table 12, the lighter had clicked 3 times. Left thumb, silver case, mint smoke. She looked at Dante and said quietly, "He doesn't drink bourbon." Silvio gave a soft laugh. "Forgive me." "At Moretti's," Clara said, "you ordered hot water with lemon. No alcohol. You said bourbon made your hand shake." Evan smiled too quickly, a waitress remembering beverages again. "No," Dante said, a witness remembering patterns. The room went still. His lawyer slid a folder across the table, face down. "Mr. Crane," she said, "we're trying to confirm who approved access to B3 last night. Would you mind placing your key card beside Miss Bell's?" Silvio's smile remained, but his phone vibrated in his breast pocket. Once, twice. He did not reach for it. Evan did. Not his own phone. His eyes went to Silvio's pocket first, then away. Clara saw it. Dante saw Clara see it. "Before you do," Dante said, almost gently, "tell me what time you left table 12. Silvio exhaled through his nose. "Before dessert. Around 8:30. Clara placed the wine order slip on the table and turned it with 2 fingers. Dessert wasn't fired until 8:46. The lawyer flipped the folder open. Inside was a kitchen camera still, grainy but clear enough. Silvio standing near table 12 at 8:48, Evan beside him, Clara bent near the broken glass, the black key card under the chair leg. Evan's mouth tightened. A still image can be misunderstood. Dante nodded once, as if agreeing. "Then we'll use movement." On the wall screen, the video file began to load, one thin white bar crawling across black. No one breathed. Silvio's hand lowered toward his pocket, then stopped when Dante said, "Let it ring." The phone kept vibrating. Clara reached into her apron, pulled out the hospital bracelet she had taken from the fiancé's coat when no one was looking, and laid it beside Mia's tag. Silvio finally looked at her without pretending she was furniture. For the first time all night, the man who had helped build Dante's empire understood that the waitress he chose to erase had been counting every second. The video finished loading, but Dante did not press play. He looked at Clara first, as if asking without words whether she was ready to watch the room try to make her small one last time. Clara's hand was still on the hospital bracelet. Her thumb covered Mia's last name like a promise. "Play it," she said. The wall screen flickered. There was Moretti's dining room from the night before, washed in gold light and shadow. Table 12. Evan in his perfect suit. Silvio leaning close. Clara bending to collect broken glass, while men above her spoke as if the floor could not hear. The audio was rough for 3 seconds, then clear. Silvio's voice came through the speaker, low and bored. "Use the fat waitress. Change her shift log. If it breaks, she takes the fall." No one moved. Not Evan. Not the chairwoman. Not the fiancé, whose gardenia perfume suddenly seemed too sweet for the air. Then Evan's voice followed, softer but unmistakable. "She'll look desperate. She always does." Dante went pale in a way Clara would remember forever. Not from fear. From recognition. From the terrible weight of realizing cruelty had happened under his roof, with his staff, his elevator, his trusted man, and he had needed a waitress in a torn apron to see it first. The footage continued. Silvio slid the black key card beneath the table with his shoe. Evan tipped the Barolo deliberately. Red wine spread across Clara's apron like a stain prepared for court. On screen, she knelt to clean it, and the men above her smiled. The real Clara stood in the donor lounge, breathing through her nose, hands steady at her sides. "Pause it," she said. Dante's lawyer froze the frame. Clara stepped closer to the screen. Zoom in on his hand. The image enlarged. Silvio's left thumb pressed a silver lighter 3 times before he passed Evan a cream envelope. Click, click, click. The same rhythm from the voicemail. The same sound under the static. Dante closed his eyes once. When he opened them, something in him had changed places. Not anger. Correction. His lawyer placed the North Pier contract beside the hospital invoice. The signatures matched. The transfer trail matched. The altered shift log matched the same executive access code Silvio had used for 10 years. Evan tried one last breath of elegance. This is theater. A Mafia-owned restaurant, a frightened waitress, edited footage. Clara turned toward the ballroom doors. Then let them see the unedited version. That was the moment the donor lounge stopped being a hiding place. Dante nodded to his man. The ballroom screens outside went black, then lit with the same footage, the same voices, the same ugly sentence that had chosen her body as a place to bury a crime. Beyond the doors, hundreds of people fell silent all at once. Dante did not look at Evan. He looked at Silvio, the man he had called brother, and set the black key card flat on the table. "Call my attorney," he said quietly, "and lock every exit but the front."